the Immortals are subjected to harsh experiments, turning their lives into a true hell.
いつまで続くんだよ。
At the beginning of the movie, in Tokyo's operation room, they're conducting harsh experiments on the guy, chopping off his limbs one after another with a saw. After the scientists do their tests and measure all the stats, they crack his head open, triggering his lightning-fast regeneration. Currently, in the world, there are about 46 people with this unique gift. So, the Japanese government decides to tighten its grip on these superhumans. The unique ability of these Ajins is complete regeneration and recovery after exiting this world in any manner. When the guy wakes up on the operating table, whole and unharmed, all he wants is to end this torture. He's flooded with memories of how he once died under a bus. But soon enough, he heals and comes back to life in front of dozens of observers, who are filming him, claiming he's the one. The witnesses to the incident rob the guy of any chance at a peaceful life, subjecting him to excruciating pain. The news quickly spreads that at noon, another Ajin was captured on one of the roads. It turns out to be 26-year-old Nagai K, just an ordinary intern at the Higashito Tokyo hospital. When a government delegation visits the lab, the curator presents the new subject 003, who is a valuable key to humanity's evolution. Nagai K used to be the sole breadwinner for his family, but now, all he can do is stare into emptiness hopelessly. If everything inside the building is marked classified, reporters outside continue to do whatever it takes to snag even a tiny piece of exclusive information. While the experiment curator Tasaki assures the minister that everything is under control and no information will be leaked beyond the premises, an explosion occurs. Two Ajins calmly enter the area to rescue Nagai from this hell. Tanaka takes out the security while his partner broadcasts specifically for Tasaki on the surveillance camera. He assures that today will be a turning point for Japan and the fate of the Ajins. Ordering more troops to surround the lab and hiding the minister from the invaders, Tasaki orders tranquilizers to be used against the unwanted guests. Under the cover of gunfire, Sato tries to make his way to the destination. Shortly after, he cuts off a part of his forearm because a syringe with a sedative got stuck in it. This force defect doesn't stop him from promptly repelling the opponent's attack and inflicting irreparable damage. He manages to reload the gun with one hand, and at that moment, 3 more syringes are plunged into his back, forcing the Ajin to shoot himself in the head. For such people, death is the only way to nullify the effect of the negative factor and return to life in a state of complete health. After a while, Sato reaches the destination and introduces himself to Nagai K. He explains that he came for the guy because Ajins should stick together. Sato leaves a bag of belongings for his future protege and sets off to finish off those he didn't get to. Changing clothes, the guy rushes to his new acquaintance, who has 3 butchers in his sights, no less. However, instead of carrying out the sentence himself, Sato hands the weapon to Nagai so he can settle the score for the torment inflicted on him. Object 003 takes the gun in hand and even aims, but ultimately can't decide the fate of his enemies. Seeing the young Ajin's hesitation, Sato fires a bullet at one of the trembling lab workers, for which he receives a barrage of bullets from Nagai's gun. Nagai, who doesn't understand why people should be treated this way. For Sato, hunting humans brings immense pleasure. This starkly sets the 2 Ajins apart from each other. After the shootout, the young man helps 2 workers escape, asking them in return to leave coordinates on the walls of the building to find a way out of this grim place. The quickly regenerated man starts pursuing his victims, realizing that the young Ajin still doesn't grasp the seriousness of the situation. Nagai devises a plan where he distracts Sato while the 2 men try to escape. During the battle, the young man sustains life-threatening injuries and initiates regeneration for the first time on his own, then shoots his opponent once he comes to his senses. However, the fight takes a new turn. Sato, who controls his power well, summons his shadow ghost, which exists within every Ajin. To even the odds, he suggests to his opponent to summon his black ghost for battle, saying that such beings don't usually follow commands. However, the student not only can give him orders, which the ghost obeys unquestionably, but can also summon him again. This moment greatly surprises the experienced Ajin. The ghosts engage in a spectacular duel, giving Nagai a chance to escape, but he gets shot in the back. So, the guy summons the ghost again and sets him on Sato to buy time to escape. When he reaches the roof, he has no choice but to jump off to try to shake off his pursuer. Sato aims at the fleeing man but ultimately lets him go as a crowd of reporters notices movement at the top of the building. After some time, Sato-san and his accomplice Tanaka put on a show that, in their opinion, will revolutionize humanity's consciousness and change their lives. Meeting in the backyard, the young Ajin doesn't understand where the one they came for is gone. To this, Sato replies that Nagai is much stronger than he imagined and will still wait for the moment when they will all be on the same team. Shortly after, Sato brings Tanaka, who is in a wheelchair, to a group of reporters and tells the cruel truth on camera, backing it up with video evidence from the experiments in the lab. Thus, the people of Japan learn that experiments on Ajins are conducted without the consent of semi-humans. Tanaka was subjected to anything from medications to deadly gas. Sato draws the viewer's attention to the fact that Adzins experience pain and suffering just like everyone else, so the government's methods are extremely inhumane. The man also requests that the authorities grant Adzins civil rights and allocate them a small autonomous territory. Reactions to this statement varied. Major companies deny any involvement in the accusations made by the unknown man in the speech. They ridicule his request for specific rights. Some turn the guy's words into mainstream and create a YouTube channel called Adzin Autonomous Territory. When Tasaki realizes he's in danger, he asks his assistant to stay close, as he may need her protection. In the hospital, a young girl freezes by the TV as soon as she hears the news about Nagai. Tired and tormented, Nagai trudges through the water, muttering to himself. He reaches Yamanaka, who has just finished with her students. The woman is not indifferent to the young man's plight and invites him to her home. She gives him clothes and a place to stay, asking him to be careful with her grandson's things. As she prepares onigiri with plum, she retreats to the kitchen, and Nagai still can't figure out if she recognized him or not. Koji Tanaka goes to the hospital where Nagai's younger sister, Eriko Kei, is lying. In her room is Tasaki's assistant, Izumi Shimomura, who checks if her brother has been in touch. Not to scare the young girl, the assistant tells her that she had the opportunity to observe and communicate with Adzins, but the girl still refuses to cooperate with her guest. In a split second, Tanaka's ghost enters the room and pierces the assistant's chest, lifting her above the bed. Sato and Tanaka want to catch Nagai with the help of his sister, but their plan once again goes awry. The slain woman turns out to be another Adzin, so when Tanaka tries another stunt, she summons her ghost, Tian, to help the two girls escape from the room and end up in the hallway surrounded by medical personnel, preventing Tanaka from harming them. At the press conference, Tasaki and the minister refute Sato's words on camera, considering the video nothing more than a computer-generated fake. While Nagai easily summons his ghost out of curiosity, Sato-san prepares for a big battle. He acquires a large batch of weapons in exchange for 10 kidneys and 5 livers. The dealer is very curious about where he constantly gets organs from, but Koji Tanaka thinks it shouldn't concern him, which the curious man agrees with. Hearing on the radio that his sister's life was threatened in the hospital, Nagai Kei immediately rushes to her and learns the details. He suggests they leave the place as soon as possible, as Sato may strike again. 5 days after the demands for the creation of an autonomous area for Adzins were announced, Sato goes live on air, broadcasted on all screens across the country. He declares his intention to resort to force and attack the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, which oversees the Adzin laboratory. Sato calls on other Adzins to come to the scene of retribution on November 25 at 3 p.m. for a fair trial. During this time, Yamanaka is thrilled to have wonderful grandchildren, as Nagai brought his sister to her savior. The elderly homeowner also learns that the girl is very ill, so the boy went to study to become a doctor, a gesture that earns her deep respect for the young man. While his sister and Yamanaka spend time together, he tries to better control his ghost, but the ghost resists. At 2:55 p.m., a large group of reporters gathers near the ministry building, awaiting the resolution of the Adzin leader's statement. The minister refuses to evacuate the ministry building, confident that the Adzins won't be able to do anything. However, the government official is gravely mistaken, as at the appointed time, a crashing plane, piloted by Sato, slams into the health department building. Moments later, several other Immortals appear beside him. Tasaki leads a special operation to eliminate the Adzins and directs a police squad, known as SOT, to the scene. The Adzin wears a camera on his ear, live streaming events from a first-person perspective. He addresses Nagai, disappointed in his liberator's behavior, and asks him to see what semi-humans are truly capable of. As soon as Sato takes a step toward the squad, a member of the unit shoots him in the head, and all the others continue to do the same every second, preventing the Adzin from regenerating and allowing them to transport him to the lab. However, Tasaki's perfect plan is thwarted by Tanaka, who covers his partner from the rooftop. After clearing some space for his friend and buying him time, he helps Sato regenerate and engage in full combat. A man takes out one fighter after another, using automatic fire, taking cover behind their bodies. Adzin displays high skill in both long range and close combat. Thanks to his tactics and strategy, Sato destroys the elite assault squad practically without respawns. At the same time, an enraged crowd breaks into the Yamanaki house, gathered even in the dead of night, wanting Adzin handed over to them. However, the woman becomes so attached to her tenants that she decides to help them escape despite knowing who Nagai is. After finishing the fight, Sato takes off his portable camera and puts forth new demands, hoping to be heard this time. Now Adzin demands that Tokyo become their autonomous territory, and if the request isn't met, he threatens to release deadly gas over the city at 8 a.m. the next day, as a quick way to rid the capital of its population. The news reports suggest that Nagai is likely an accomplice to the terrorist attack, although the guy is doing nothing but hiding from everyone with his sister. Shortly after, in the Crisis Management Center, Tasaki contacts Sato and suggests establishing a town for Adzins on one of the islands of their choice. The options of Yusi or Hokkaido please Sato and his companions, but he still refuses them, insisting on Tokyo. The Japanese authorities organize this communication procedure to be able to track the location of the Adzin headquarters, but they fail. The Adzins who joined Sato during the plane crash split into two groups after hearing the dialogue with the government. The first group confidently joins Sato and his methods. The second group completely rejects the cruel methods of punishment and decides to leave, but the head of the Adzins simply guns them down. Koji Tanaka continues to silently observe the events. After the recent events, Tasaki is called in and reprimanded for the mistakes made, to which he asks the authorities to provide sufficient support. Thus, they create an enhanced squad called Anti-Adzin, who are simply mercenaries. Nagai meets secretly with Tasaki under the city bridge and offers his help in fighting against Sato. In return, he demands that his younger sister be sent for treatment and that he be given new documents, completely wiping out his past. To dispel any doubts Tasaki might have, Adzin demonstrates the power emanating from his hand and reminds him that if he violates any part of the agreement, the Black Ghost will find Tasaki's fiancée and kill her. In the conference room, the group gathers to discuss the plan of action. Nagai becomes a member of the team, as he, being an Adzin, understands Sato's logic better than anyone. Since Sato wants to release deadly gas over the city, he will head to the forge plant. Therefore, the most logical option is to set up an ambush at the plant. Nagai devises an infiltration plan that only an Adzin can execute. Sato wants people to feel exactly what he does. The newcomers to his team start to question who their leader really is and what he represents, and Tanaka reveals a bit of the mystery. Koji Tanaka underwent experiments for 2 years, and he already hates people, while Sato has been killing for 20 years since infancy. War with the whole world won't be enough for this man. At the laboratory building, Sana, the head of the operation to neutralize Sato, approaches Nagai and says that it's surprising to cooperate with an Adzin, but sometimes work requires illogical actions. He asks the guy to come up with a good plan, and if the plan works out, they will celebrate this day as a national holiday. When X Day comes, the factory director kindly provides his office on the 49th floor. There, in the safe, a dangerous substance is stored. Almost everyone is confident that 48 floors of personnel, surveillance cameras, and security systems will stop a small group of Adzins. One of the rebels arrives at the factory ahead of the others, sitting in a wheelchair and using a fake pass to get inside. His task is to block the surveillance system and mislead everyone. The rest arrive in a car and check the equipment they need. In one of the bags, they see something very disturbing, that Tanaka called a protective amulet. After a while, the agitated guys infiltrate the production area. This group ruthlessly guns down the factory staff and does so on every floor. The only thing that bothers Nagai is the fact that Sato is not among the Adzins. When the men reach the floor where a trap is set, Nagai positions himself near the ventilation system and releases the ghost into the wild. It penetrates the room with the Adzins and swirls them with dark vortexes, completely reducing the visibility of the opponents. Taking advantage of their disorientation, tranquilizers are shot into the Adzins, and then they are strapped to stretchers with belts. Meanwhile, Sato arrives at the sawmill and politely greets the workers. When they start asking unnecessary questions, he pulls out a pistol and shoots one of them in the head. One of the employees was more compliant and, with a trembling voice, told about the wood chipper and the size of the wood chips that come out. Sato, satisfied with the information, tells the sawmill worker that he will have a unique opportunity to see how an Adzin regenerates and continues towards the working machinery. The sight nearly turned the employee's stomach inside out. In the bag that Sato's partners were examining lay his hand, which turns out to be the largest part of his body after going through the wood chipper. This means that the regeneration is happening around the Adzin's hand, which is currently on the same floor where his companions were recently incapacitated. Naked, Sato-san grabs a pistol and fires at the security guards. Then he, too, is engulfed in the same black mist as his comrades. 3 tranquilizer darts hit his chest, and he loses consciousness. The escape director confidently approaches the seated body upon hearing that Sato has been neutralized. His surprise is palpable as 3 syringes detach from the Adzin, and the man regains consciousness. Meanwhile, the once translucent ghost, which turned out to be a shield, takes on visible contours and permeates the body of the director with semblances of its hands. After eliminating everyone around him, Sato brings Tanaka to his senses and together they retrieve the dangerous substance from the office on the top floor. Being a man of thrill, Sato calls Nagai, who is trying to resuscitate the head of the special operation, and proposes playing the final level by meeting on the helicopter pad. As Sato opens the helicopter pad, Nagai approaches him. A struggle ensues between the two for the vial of dangerous substance. At one point, Sato reveals his cards, stating that the 4th wave of attack, for him, is a young Ajin. Uttering these words, the rebel tosses the substance into the abyss, forcing the former student to leap after the valuable cargo, dodging bullets. On the floor where the cafeteria is located, Izumi Samumura defends her boss from Tanaka's attacks. Unlike the guy, for her, everyone on the ground is equal, be it humans or Ajins. Their battle continues until complete defeat. At a critical moment, Tasaki inserts a syringe into the boy's back, and the girl prevents him from killing himself to allow the substance to take effect. Deprived of his arm, almost losing the battle, Nagai delays until the last moment, and when Sato approaches, triumphantly towering over the defeated Ajin, the helicopter pad is illuminated by bright light. Nagai K is overjoyed to see the mercenaries arrive. However, as the squad descends on ropes, they douse the Ajin's bodies with water and freeze them, then break them into small pieces. Tasaki discusses with his assistant the promises made to the boy, and out of the corner of his eye, he notices his comrade's hand lying in the distance, from which Nagai begins to regenerate in a minute. The special team opens fire on him, but Tasaki orders them not to shoot. To escape, the Ajin leaps out of the window and flies down alongside the Golden Tower, leaving behind the trace of the Black Ghost. And when everyone has left the building, someone lifts their headgear. This ending shows that Ajins cannot be destroyed, because they can regenerate from even a small DNA cell. Whose side would you choose, people or Ozdins? Write your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Till we meet again.